Hi, everyone. Lisa and Dan here from Fireside Strategic. We're on a mission to help business leaders achieve great results through human-centered strategy. We believe that businesses don't need to choose between investing in their humans and generating profit because it's the humans that create profit. In the Fireside Chat series, we're showcasing how leaders are transcending the challenges of the coronavirus crisis and broadly unite strategic and human thinking and leadership. Today, we're excited to chat with Karla Briones, founder of 4 different companies in the food, pet food, and consulting industries. Karla, thank you so much for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
First of all, thanks for having me here, guys. I am an immigrant. That's how I wear my immigrant title in my heart because that tells a lot about a person. So I am actually originally from Mexico, and I came to Canada when I was 18. And I'm the daughter of entrepreneurs, so that comes in my veins. And about 11 years ago today. Oh my God, today's May 4th, right? Yes. So today, 11 years ago, I opened my first business, which was the pet food store, so Global Pet Foods. And and then a year and a half later, I opened the second shop. And then 3.5 years ago, I opened a restaurant. And 2 years ago, I opened my consulting business to help immigrants open up their own businesses that are scalable.
Was the vision, that's awesome. Karla, I'm curious, was the vision always to open multiple businesses, or did it just end up happening that way?
It just ended up happening that way. When I opened the first business, I ended up walking by a little neighborhood that was kind of up and coming. And I realized that neighborhood didn't have a pet store. So it's like, well, there's a problem. Let's bring them a solution. Let's bring a pet store. So it just kind of happened. And then I ended up being very into yoga and healthy eating. And I was a pretty hardcore vegan back then. And there was nothing to eat on the go that was healthy, that was affordable. So I'm like, hey, well, let's open up a restaurant. So and then 2 years ago, my dad was about to sell his business. And in doing the due diligence, we realized that he made a catastrophical mistake that could have been avoided had he had some help when we were newly immigrants here in Canada. And that's when I'm like, well, there's a problem. There's nobody doing the consulting for immigrants to help them open something that is right from the get-go and scalable. And so I ended up doing that as well. So never really figured it out, never really wanted to be multi-business owner, but it just kind of evolved that way.
It's super cool. And one of the things I noticed there is how much you're scratching your own itch. So you love pets, right? Your father's a vet. You love healthy food. You can't find it on the go. And you notice all kinds of immigrants, like perhaps you feel, had you gotten consulting and really good advice from the beginning, you could have scaled even faster. And so in each case, you're scratching your own itch, which is super cool.
Yeah.
At the same time, what's so cool is not only are you scratching your own itch, but you're also finding a problem that's happening within a certain space with a certain industry, and you are so quick to resolve it. I am actually also an immigrant, and we talked about this a little bit before, but I definitely know the challenges of adjusting to a new culture as a family, and I can absolutely see the need for consulting services that are very tailored towards immigrant communities. So I think it's amazing how you're tying your own experience, your own itch with the unmet needs of different communities and finding, starting really successful businesses.
Yeah, and it's actually really cool once you find something that it's just very personal too. It's very it's almost like a mission, and sometimes it doesn't even feel like work or like a job or a business. It's just something that I'm doing because it's something that I truly wholeheartedly believe in, and there's a lot of soul into it. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Pretty rewarding.
It's beautiful. Karla, to switch gears a little bit, so clearly the COVID-19 pandemic has had a massive impact on the business world, especially in some of the industries in which you operate. Could you tell us a little bit about how business was going before the crisis and how things have changed as a result of it?
Well, I own retail and restaurants, which are the two probably hardest hit industries in now with COVID. So obviously with my restaurant, I was in the upward trend because we've only been open for 3.5 years. So we're still on a year-over-year growth. And I was trending about 15 to 20% year-over-year growth, which in the restaurant industry, that's huge. And we were really excited, and we were like closing a whole bunch of really big catering contracts and doing a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And then all of a sudden it came to a halt. So obviously, you know, our sales are dropping. We've managed to stop our drop to 50%, which is huge. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying this. But so unfortunately it's been hit pretty considerably. The pet food stores, interestingly enough, so they have diminished a little bit, not too much, because it's a fairly recession-proof industry. Actually, 11 years ago, we were still in the middle of the recession of 08, 09. And we opened the business in the middle of a recession, and we were able to grow and thrive. So are we thriving right now, 11 years after? I wouldn't say thriving. We're not growing. We're stagnated. So usually we have like now like after 10 years, we usually have anywhere between 5 to 8% year-over-year increase. And right now we're flat from last year, which is pretty decent considering our limitations. We're not allowed to bring people in. It's only curbside delivery. So there are a few limitations, but it's a fairly stable business. The restaurant though, oh my God, like there's very little, like my hands are tied. Like there's very little that we can do in order to sustain sales or grow them. But I've been able to stop the decline at 50%, sometimes 40, depending on the week. But we're trying to stay positive, and we're trying to encourage our community and to stay very local and very grassroots in our approach. And that seems to work. That people seem to identify with businesses that show their faces and that show their humanity as well.
Makes total sense. And, you know, props to you for pushing through this difficult time and doing your best. What does showing that human face look like? What does community work look like for you and your businesses?
Yeah, so I've always been a big proponent of grassroots, of community work, of getting involved with, you know, the local community associations, the local food banks, because most of my businesses are food oriented. One is pet food and one is human food. There's always going to be someone that needs a little bit of help in either feeding their animals or feeding themselves. So in the pet industry, I do work with the local Salvation Army. And there's a lot of people that are homeless that also have pets. And in Canada, winters are really long and very cold. And there's a lot of them that are living in the streets where they're animals. And one day I'm like, wow, these people, their animals are very well behaved. And sometimes they feed their animals before they feed themselves. So I partner up with the Salvation Army, and basically they have my cell phone, and it's carte blanche with them. Whenever they encounter someone in the streets who has an animal, they ask the owner, what does the animal need? And then the Salvation Army calls me, even if it's in the middle of the night. I've had those calls at 2 a.m, particularly in like minus 20 degrees. This is Celsius, so I'm not sure what Fahrenheit is, but in the really, really cold evenings. And I meet them at the store, and, you know, if the dog needs a jacket, if the dog needs, you know, leashes, food, whatever it is, they have carte blanche. And it feels good to be able, I mean, the community has supported us so much that it feels good to give back. And then right now, COVID, in the restaurant industry, or in my restaurant, I'm actually rallying the community to donate meals to healthcare workers in our local hospitals. And that has worked very well. And I was very transparent about it, saying, I'm benefiting, like I'm profiting as a business, like you're donating to me as a business, but in turn that I'm feeding, you know, we're feeding the healthcare workers. So it's a double win or a triple win. You know, somebody who donates, they feel good for donating, they feed a healthcare worker, and they help keep my business afloat. So and just being very transparent about that has been very positive.
That's amazing. One thing that I think is so interesting is you mentioned that you've been able to flatten the loss at 50%, while so many restaurants are actually experiencing much worse losses in this period. And it sounds like, in a weird way, your community orientation is actually really fueling the bottom line as well.
Yeah. I think when you're able to relate to your customers, when your customers are able to see the face behind the business, it makes a big difference, because we're not a big corporation. We're not we're not the bad guys, right? Like, the business is not the bad guy. Like, I'm actually an owner. I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm a member of the community as well. So the more I'm able to show my face, and the more I'm able to show some sort of vulnerability, it resonates a lot with my customers, and they're more willing to help out and support the business.
It's interesting. It's so easy in this moment. What I love about what you're doing is it's so easy in this moment to want to be strong, and to think, as a business owner, I have to communicate this image of strength and I've got it, right? I know what's happening. When the reality is, none of us know what's happening. If we're really honest, we put aside the facade. This is a time of confusion. It's a time of uncertainty. And just being honest about that is a really healthy thing, I think.
Absolutely. And people respond to that. People can actually relate to that. Because if you put this facade of like bravado and like, yeah, like, I'm the tough business owner who can deal with this, and people don't relate to that. They just don't identify with that. On the contrary, if you say, listen, like, we're all struggling here. We're all in this together. I'm a soccer mom who's also trying to put food on the table with my kids. Let's find a solution together. My solution was feeding the healthcare workers. People in my community were asking me, how can we help? How can we help? So I found a way to channel that, that energy into something positive, and something that would help everybody. So, but people identify the vulnerability I think it's harder than showing that bravado, everything is great. Like, I think it takes a lot more guts to be vulnerable and saying, oh my God, I need help, or I'm struggling here, and being humble enough to ask for that help. I think that's sometimes it's harder than just showing this facade of, we're good, we're awesome, we're on an upward trend, and trying to fake something that is not.
What a beautiful way to lead, and what a beautiful way to show up with your business as Karla, as this human. So more broadly, what are your goals for your businesses for the future beyond COVID?
Well, to survive.
Always a good one, a good starting point.
Number one, to survive. Number two, to be able to provide a decent living to my staff. Obviously, without my staff, my businesses are nothing. And I mean, I pride myself for having a really kick butt team, and in retail and restaurants. In order for me to not have that turnover, I offer everybody health benefits, and I offer them life insurance and stuff that normally they wouldn't get on a regular retail or a regular restaurant, because I consider that I'm not a regular owner, and my businesses are not regular businesses. Like, we're in the business of caring for our staff the same way that we care, or even more so than we care for our customers. Because, like you guys said in your intro, without the staff, without your people, your company is nothing. So what I hope so is that we're able to survive and then thrive after COVID, so that we keep employing the people that have been with us for 11 years. I have staff that have been with me since we started. So I want to continue to be that for them. I want to continue to be the person that signs that first mortgage letter, proving the income, or the person that signs that maternity leave slip for them to be able to get that benefit, and be able to see my staff maturing and growing their family and thriving because of my businesses. So so that's what I hope, that we're able to thrive and keep going and keep contributing to lives of my staff and my customers.
That's a wonderful, wonderful objective. To dig a little bit deeper into that, I'm really curious. 11 years of staff sticking with you in businesses that are notorious for really, really high turnover rates.
Yeah.
Is there anything you could share with our audience of CEOs and business owners about how you're able to hire and retain so effectively?
Yeah. So my hiring process is quite long. So my mantra is hire slow and then fire fast. So my hiring process is about 3 different interviews. So the first interview is, it's like a pre-interview with some questions via email. And if they answer the questions, then we invite them for an interview. The first interview is with myself. So I do the screening and I'm like, oh my God, I love this person, but it's not up to me, right? Because this person's going to be spending most of the time with the staff. So then the third interview is with the staff. So the staff have a very informal interview where they kind of see if there's, I'm looking more for fit than knowledge, because the knowledge you can learn. The fit, like there's got to be some chemistry there. And then after the staff say yay, if they say nay, even though I like them, I give them the last word, the staff. If they say yay, we invite them to an audition shift where we tell them, don't quit your job if they have another job. Don't quit your job. Just come here for a full day. We'll kind of sink or swim. And what we're just looking for like fit and chemistry with the team and some sort of spunk. And like a can-do attitude, and they're in turn they're also able to say, you know what, I didn't feel comfortable with the team. This is not my. I thought that I was gonna like it, but I didn't. We've had cases like that, and then it's a very no strings attached. It's like, okay, no problem. Good luck with everything, or I loved it, or we loved you, and then that's when the formal employment starts. And then we've got a lot, like we pay above norm. We give everybody benefits after 3 months of probation. And then we have after 5 years, we send them on a trip. So we have a lot of really cool, actually, after their first 3 months, we have the shoe review, because a lot of our staff spend a lot of time on their feet. So at 3 months, when they pass their probation, we basically say, go get yourself a pair of shoes, running shoes, whatever you love and is most comfortable to you, so that you can wear at work, and we'll pay for them. And then, at 5 years, we give them a big budget for them to go on a trip, and we pay for that vacation as well. So we try to do fun things so that they stick with us. And it's an investment, but there's a big return on that investment, which is keeping them for a long time.
Yeah, I love it. I think there's so much brilliance in that process. For you not to be the final decider is extremely rare. I don't know that I've ever heard, in interviewing a lot of people who hire, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone quite put it that way before. So I love that. And the fact that you empower your staff so much, knowing that they really have to connect deeply in order to build the best possible team.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, I have full confidence in my staff. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. And I reap the benefits of that, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be working with the new team member. I don't work on the floor anymore, so I've removed myself there. So I've empowered them to be able to have the final word, because at the end of the day, it's them that are going to have to be relating and working with this person for a big chunk of their time.
I love how in your hiring practices and the way you've built the culture, you've incorporated some elements of fun and levity and celebration, but there's also this like baseline connection that this job aligns with them, that they align with the team, that the team aligns with them. And it's like having both that internal alignment and the match between the person and the role, as well as those fun benefits. It sounds like that creates that beautiful formula that keeps staff with you for 11 plus years. That's great.
Yeah, we had a story, or I have a story about my manager, actually, one that's been with me since before we opened. She ended up giving us her notice about 2 years ago. And we're like, oh my God, like a little piece of my heart was falling. And I was like, okay, you know what? And she's like, well, I got hired by a bank, and I just want to, try this different avenue or this different opportunity. And I'm like, you know what, I'm no one to cut your wings. So go, and I'm so happy to give you a reference and whatnot. And then she ended up leaving us. But then about 3 weeks later, she said, can I have my job back? And she realized that the work environment in the bank that she got hired at, she's like, it's just not the same. And it's like just the culture is so different, and there's no collaboration, and I'm like, come back to me, my child. So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty rewarding being able to mold, the people culture as something that I would love to work in.
That is so beautiful. I love that story. I love how she's like your person. You could feel like your emotional connection to your people. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Karla, we are coming towards the end of our time together. Before we wrap up, I wanted to switch gears one last time. So we've been talking about a lot of serious business considerations, but what are you doing for fun these days? Coronavirus has changed the way that we're all living our lives. It's important to retain some levity in the environment. What does Karla do for fun during these times?
I have a Peloton bike, which has been a lifesaver. So that for me is fun. Some sort of physical exercise is always welcome. But I also have 2 little kids, like 2 little girls, that keep me on my toes. And they have their own little business too. So they have a vegan cookie business. And believe it or not, they've been getting a lot of catering orders. So I've been helping them with their business as well, and sometimes I'm baking with them in the middle of the night, and it's fun. I mean, that's the meaning of fun for me, is just doing something creative and doing something with my kids, and then just releasing some energy through exercise.
I love that. I love that you're also nurturing the entrepreneurial spirit in your children. You said your parents were entrepreneurs. You're an entrepreneur. Your kids are already entrepreneurs. That's amazing. That sounds pretty fun.
I would love you or hate me in the future. I don't know.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, Karla, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. This was so interesting, so fun. I think that your style of leadership and your human-forward approach to both the community and internally in running your businesses is really inspiring. And it makes me very optimistic about kind of the future of business beyond this current crisis. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.